Why was audio so important? Or like to understand why audio is so important for Blinkist is first, you have to understand commuting and traffic jams. So this is the car version of a traffic jam because we're in New York. I thought maybe we also look at the human version of a traffic jam. Maybe let's do a quick Q&A. Who of you commutes more than 30 minutes per day? Like most people. What are you doing? Are you consuming content when you're commuting? Who's listening to audio when they commute? Other question, like 5 years ago, did you listen to audio when you were commuting? So that's very interesting because we started as a text-only company or just producing text content. And we started speaking to a lot of customers. So text kind of like worked well. We kept growing, but not like crazy growth. So we started talking to customers to understand, are we missing something in order to really convert more people to a subscription or to retain those subscribers for longer. So we started talking to a lot of people in the US because the US is naturally our biggest market. We are a German, Berlin-based company, but the US was our biggest market from day one. And what we realized is that a lot of our customers and users would tell us that, hey, I like what you do, but I don't have time to read Blinkist. I already have like a reading the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal. I don't have time to read Blinkist, but actually, I'm commuting every day, 30 minutes, an hour, like 2 hours, and I would have time to listen to content. I would really love to learn something new when I commute in my car or like in the subway, but there's no product or there's no offering which really helps me to learn something new. And this clear insight really kind of like struck with us saying, oh, look, there's the need. People want to learn something new when they commute, but there's not a good chance for them to do that because there's not a real option for them to acquire new knowledge when basically, as they say, the hands are busy, but their mind is free. So you can't really read because you're like moving. You could listen, but there is no option for that. So what we did is we talked a lot about that. So having this clear insight, normally you would say, well, like go off and try something out and just build a product and see if it works. Back at this point, we were maybe 15 people, so it felt like a very big decision for us to say, okay, we're going to start producing audio content. We're going to change the product from a text-only product to an audio product. And as it is with these big decisions, we kept pushing off this decision for a while. At some point, we were sitting in a room, 6, 7 people, and we talked about the topic of audio again. And at this time, growth had slowed down a little bit in terms of like new subscribers. And we said, okay, it felt like, okay, it's now or never. Either we try audio now or we will never have a chance to try it again. So we were sitting in this room discussing the topic of audio again. And I don't know really what changed, but suddenly everyone was like super excited saying, yeah, let's try it. Let's just do it. So we went off and said, okay, let's try audio. Let's make a plan. But what's very important is that we try to do this in a very structured way. So we basically said 2 principles, or we created a framework for us that said, first, let's be very clear about our goals and expectations of audio. And second, let's make it very easy for us to get out of it if our expectations are not met. So what the first one means is let's be very clear about what we expect from audio is we said, okay, first, it's going to increase the usability of the product, which means more people are likely to convert to Blinkist because there's now like there's a time when they can use Blinkist and therefore they would convert to the product. Second, we thought with audio, the perceived value of the product might be higher, so we could actually charge more for Blinkist than we could charge before. In terms of make it easy to get out, we said to ourselves, okay, instead of investing like $1 million to that, building a new team, hiring people, let's do a different approach. Let's find a couple of people within the company that are super excited and passionate about audio. Let's give them a little bit of, like, just create an outline of what we need in order to go to the market with an audio product. And then let's give them full autonomy, let them run and figure something out. And what they will build over like 3 or 4 months, we're going to launch and then see if audio works. So what we did, we had these 5 people, like across the company, 1 person from content, 1 person from marketing, 1 person from tech, all excited about audio. They were like musicians or like podcast aficionados back then. And we said, okay, here's like a small budget. We need 50 audio versions to launch that. We need an audio player in the app. You have like 3 months, try it out. And they just like, because they were so passionate and motivated, like excited about it, you didn't need to motivate them. They were just basically working like crazy for 3 months because they really wanted to move forward with audio. And this is really how we could like set up audio, the test for audio without like any new hires, still with a company of 15 people, and really basically creating a second product, a product we didn't have before. So end of 2014, we finally launched audio. And this is just like 3 months after we made the decision. So like a decision we kept pushing off for like nearly a year because it felt like such a big project and such a big commitment. In the end, we were able to make it happen within 3 months. And as George said, this launch changed the trajectory of the business and of the company completely. And I think it's like the main driver for the revenue growth we have seen in the last 3 years. It grew revenue, or like it was so important for like the business side for 2 reasons. Or like it was so important because it increased the lifetime value of our customers dramatically. And this mostly for 2 reasons. The first one, and this is an old screenshot, but what you can see, we introduced a new subscription tier called Premium. We were not as smart as the guys at Tinder, so we didn't pay too much attention on naming. We just said we had Plus and Premium. That sounds really cool. If I had to make a decision again, I probably would do it differently. Maybe something like Gold and. So like you're still number 1. We are trying, but maybe next year. But what is like important? We said, okay, as I said, we wanted to increase prices. So we created a new price tier, which was way higher than the initial price tier. So it was more than 50% more expensive than the initial price tier we had before. And what's also important is we also raised the price for the non-audio price tier. So just to make this clear, Premium includes audio, Plus didn't include audio. And we also had like a premium feature, connect to Evernote, where's the Evernote person. So we increased the price. So the price for Premium was 50% higher than the initial price. And we also increased the price for the Plus subscription, which didn't change at all. It was the same subscription as before, but we felt like now the product has like a higher perceived value, so we increased that price too. Which is, yeah, just like was really important for us in terms of like increasing lifetime value. Maybe a note on pricing and how we arrived at these price points is pretty. There's no magic behind that. We basically just looked at comparable products like Headspace back then and looked, oh, they charge around $80 per year. And we were like charging $40 at this time. So we are like basically underpriced compared to other products. So let's just do $80 as well. Because what we learned is that pricing is often relative. It's not really, it's very hard for you to kind of like say okay, I'm willing to pay this amount of money for this type of value I'm getting from this product. But what people are very good is comparing. So they say, oh, I pay $10 for Netflix per month, and I get like unlimited movies and series, which is $120 per year. So I pay $80 for Blinkist, where I get maybe like unlimited book summaries and text and audio. That sounds like a fair deal. So this is how we got to the price, by just looking what our peers are charging and go with this price point, because this is what people would expect. So that's the first point why it really helped increasing lifetime value. The second point, and it's very obvious as well, it just increased retention, because audio created like a new way for people to consume content at times where there was no competition back then. So people who used audio sticked around for longer, and therefore renewals increased, and therefore lifetime value increased. Today, audio is kind of like really at the center of the whole company and of the product. So we have the audio product, which is like the main way how people consume content today at Blinkist. We launched podcasts. We have like one really well-working podcast called Simplify with more than a couple of million of downloads, where we talk to book authors about their life and about their books. We also have actions for our Google Assistant. I think this is how it's called, right? I don't call it skills. That would be like another company. Just like the way we think about audio, like audio is really the center of all products we build now. And audio is also a big topic for innovation at Blinkist. So in the Blinkist style, so that's the story of how we got to audio, how we started. And I tried to distill kind of like the key messages from this talk. What we're doing at Blinkist is we're distilling the key insights from books. So I try to distill the key insights from this talk. And the key message of this presentation is, and excuse me for this very long sentence, but you might know that Germans like long words and long sentences. And I have to read it because it's so long. But user-centric product innovation can help you to unlock value by expanding your value proposition. Laura, you should have like warned me before. This is like, what I mean by that is like, I think it's very important when you think about like building new products and try to like do innovation, that you focus on your customers, listen to your customers, try to understand their problems, try to find needs that are not served yet, rather than approaching this from a business side, saying, oh yeah, it would be cool if we had that, and then try to build that and then try to charge more for that. That won't work. But if you really try to understand customers and what they are facing, what problems they need, what they have and what you can solve, then this is a good opportunity to introduce this and also increase prices, which then unlocks value for your company and and for the business. The first one, the blink number one of this presentation is the impact is hard to estimate beforehand. So as you see for audio, we kind of like pushed it off. Then we said, okay, we do it. We didn't know if it's going to work out or not. So what we knew is there is a need for audio, but we didn't know if Blinkist is the right product and the right solution to serve this need. So we could discuss this for years. We did, or just try it. And I think it's important that you do research, but I believe strongly in that at some point you have to trust your intuition, or like listen to your gut, saying, okay, I have collected a little bit of data. I look at that, but then you have to make a decision based on that. So what we do at Blinkist, we call this data-driven intuition, which basically means we collect data, but the data won't give you the answer. You have to still to make a leap of faith at some point, because you will never have perfect data to make a decision. And sometimes timing, or often timing, is super important. So one thing when it comes to audio at Blinkist, what is important is when you look at when we launched audio, it's end of November 2014. So we were working for 3 months. So we started in September, more or less, working on audio. In October 2014, the Serial podcast was launched. And Serial podcast, in hindsight, is probably the podcast that opened up audio again for a whole generation, or for basically everyone. And that's very interesting, because we didn't create this trend, but we were basically at the same time, maybe arriving at the same insight, or just there at the right time, because suddenly audio was the thing, and everyone was looking for audio products. Without Serial, I'm not sure if Blinkist audio would have been that successful, to be honest. But you don't know before, and you just have to try that. So timing obviously is important, but without trying, you will never be able to capitalize on trends. The second key insight here is start to learn by doing, keep the downside covered. So I think what we try to avoid is just building business plans and just creating these Excel sheets and then say yes or no, but say, okay, there's a thesis we have, let's test it. But let's test it so that we have the downside covered. We don't invest in the whole team. We build a lean experiment with what we think is needed to validate that, and then we run with that, and then we see if we want to double down on it or not. And I think for us, this squad that we assembled of these 5 people was really crucial for the success of the project, because these people were passionate about it. So we didn't need to motivate them saying, hey, you're working on this now, please can you make it happen. They made it happen because they wanted to make it happen. And they spent all the time doing research about audio. They spent all the time going into the details to find a really, really good audio experience. They spent all the time on figuring out, fixing all the bugs in the audio player. So we had a really good product for first version, but still in a very lean way. The third insight is when it comes to pricing, users often create their own pricing analogies for your product. So as I said before, you can be very scientific about pricing. This might work. I don't know. We never tried that. For us, what worked is just looking at the market and finding comparables, because this is what, in our experience, people will mostly make pricing decisions based on. They will look what other products are charging they know, and based on that, they will make a decision if your product is cheap or expensive. Of course, if you're in a market where basically there's no comparable product, then you're in a very good position. But if you're in entertainment, education, there are comparable products. And the default comparable product for everything that has to do with content, I feel, is either Spotify or Netflix, because this is what people will always compare you to in the end, because they know what value they get there. And if you try to be much more expensive, then you need something very, very exclusive, or a very, very small market niche where people say, okay, I need this for my profession, and I'm paying for whatever is needed. Or you try to stick within the frame what other companies are charging. The last insight, blink number 4, is be ready to fail. Even the best ideas can fail. So as I said, we didn't know if audio is going to be success or not. For us, it was successful, but of course you can fail. And we had another big experiment. We believed strongly in community at Blinkist. We talked to customers again, and we thought we heard them telling us, hey, it would be cool if you could have sharing features, and I could comment, and I could share within Blinkist. And we thought, cool, because the business is very interested in it too. So if we had a viral growth component at Blinkist, we might grow faster, and we don't have to invest that much money in marketing. So I think in hindsight, it was more the business side speaking, and us just hearing something we wanted to hear about community. We launched that. We worked 6 months on this, and it was probably the worst feature we ever launched. Probably because we didn't really pay attention to our customers, but more to the business interest, and it failed spectacular. So that can happen, and I think just you can learn from that and try to do it better next time. what's very important, yeah, as I said, like be ready to fail, therefore start small. Don't bet a whole company on one idea, but just find a way to do it in a way that, yeah, you can always exit easily without making it too hard to get out of it. Thanks.